My name is Sally Reynolds. I'm from the Media and Learning Association, and I'm going to be moderating this session this afternoon on frameworks and strategies at national and European level. As you know, this is the third in a series of sessions that we've been running in the Media and Learning Association, specifically focused on teacher education. So this is something that we want to bring to the fore, and I hope we're going to have time to discuss this afternoon. So without further ado, let's start. I'm delighted to welcome our first speaker this afternoon, and she is Julia Alajärvi. She's a senior advisor with the National Audiovisual Institute called KAVI in Finland. Thank you, Chloe. This is our presenters this afternoon, just to remind you, all talking about specific frameworks and strategies. Let's start with Julia. Julia, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sally. Hi, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to this event. I will give you now a glimpse of the media literacy framework in education we have in Finland and how my organization aims to help teachers to master media education better. First, some words about my organization. It is called National Audiovisual Institute, and I will call it KAVI, like Sally did, after the Finnish abbreviation. We are a governmental organization under the Ministry of Education and Culture, and my division's legal responsibility is to promote media literacy and develop media education. Our task is to promote the field of media educators in different sectors of the society. So one of the most important framework to guide our work is our latest media education policy. This is the second one we have in Finland. It is situated in the administrative sectors of Ministry of Education and Culture, and it gives a cross-sectoral perspective for the media literacy work, and it includes a vision for the future media literacy work in Finland. And the policy has three main goals and proposed actions, and also a description of the current state we have in the media literacy. We have also included an implementation section, mostly for the governmental stakeholders. So about the vision, it is that everyone's opportunities, to develop their media literacy are improved in Finland, and media literacies that promote good, meaningful life are an important element of civic competence. There are the three main goals. Media literacy is promoted and supported with the help of high quality, systematic and comprehensive media education. And our work in KAVI is mainly to promote the implementation part of the actions needed to reach these goals. While the policy is an important tool for us and the whole field of media education, it is not a binding document, but a guiding one. And for example, it is also aimed for the formal education section. The policy document is available in total in English, so if you are interested to learn more, you can see the link and have the link, I guess, in the chat box also. We have also a micro video series available about the policy, so that's a little bit easier way to take a look, as well as an introduction to Finnish media education in general with the other video. So before I'm presenting another important framework media literacy has in Finland, I will show you some background information about our educational system and teachers. We are a country about 5.5 million people, and around 80% of Finnish children take part in early childhood education and care at some part of their childhood. Our pre-primary school is the first compulsory education form, and it starts at the age of 6. The primary school consists of 9 classes and is followed by upper secondary schools or vocational institutes. And like in many countries, the higher education is divided in 3 or more degrees offered, mostly by universities or universities of applied sciences, as we call them in Finland. So teachers in early childhood education and care have usually at least a bachelor's degree and primary and upper secondary teachers have at least master's degree usually. So teachers are highly educated, the profession is very valued. Teachers are also highly independent in their work. So curricula will set only the framework. The system is based mostly on trust, so there are no actual inspections or national level tests for pupils. And also universities are fairly independent, so teacher training programs are not totally similar in different universities. The in-service trainings are offered by multiple stakeholders, but also naturally by the universities. While the independence is high, the responsibility to keep up to date and take part in trainings is naturally very important. So the other framework I promised to give you some information is naturally the core curricula of formal education. When it comes to media literacy in Finland, it is integrated in core curricula in all stages, also for the early childhood education and care curriculum. Goals related to media literacy appear in subjects like Finnish language, Swedish language, our official languages, and literature, which is one subject, and then, for example, in visual art education. Mentions are not always very explicit in the curriculum, and sometimes it can be a little difficult for teachers to interpret that where the media education is needed. But in addition to separate subjects, there are also transversal or multidisciplinary competencies, and media literacy is mostly situated in the multiliteracy part. Next, let's take a look at some surveys we have concerning media literacy in Finland. The first one is a bit older, but it is our own, so I will present it to you. Around 5 years ago, we conducted a survey for teacher students after the core curriculum of primary school was renewed the last time. The survey consisted of a review of teacher training curricula in 7 universities and questionnaire for the teacher students. And the key findings were that the status of media education varied a great deal in different universities. In addition, the media education was mainly studied among ICT skills, and also a great majority of the students found there was not enough media education in their studies, so there was a genuine worry how the teachers manage in their work, while the training does not cover all the basic stuff, basic needs. We are planning to renew this survey in the coming years. So another example of an ongoing and continuous survey are our ICT studies called OPEKA for teachers, OPEKA for students, pupils, and ROPEKA mostly for the principals. They measure annually the level of ICT use and skills of teachers, pupils, and the administration. Most of the schools and teachers provide answer to these studies, questionnaires, and they provide a lot of data for us. At least the OPEKA, the teacher poll, is available quite easily for us, for everyone. There are also some media literacy related questions we follow and we utilize in our work. For the last part, I will tell you what kind of strategies we have to help the work done in the education field, and I have time to give you one explicit example. So in KAVI, we have been maintaining a national hub called Media Literacy School web portal for media literacy and media education resources, and it's targeted to our target group is mostly teachers and teachers in early childhood education. Annually, we create news resources and offer trainings for the professionals. Also, other stakeholders will give us resources to that portal. We will share others' resources there. We also take part in renewal of the core curricula in all stages when it's time. And naturally, we take part and run some development projects and initiatives. And the example I promised is this one. This time, for 2 years now, we have had an initiative called New Literacies. It's based, it was based on surveys and that we needed a better understanding and implementing of media literacy for teachers. The program consists of 3 areas: media literacy, programming, and information and communications technology. And KAVI is responsible for the media literacy and the programming, but now I'm concentrating on naturally the media literacy part. So based on core curricula, we created competence descriptions for each area, from early childhood education and care to the primary schools. The program lays out a cumulative path of learning, and media literacy is divided in 3 areas, according to the findings we had from the curriculum. So there is interpretation and evaluation, media production, and operating in the media environments. The idea is that from early childhood education to the last years of primary school, the children's competencies in each area will develop cumulatively. The ultimate goal is naturally of the project is to improve children's media and digital skills and ensure a better equality of the education. And to get there, we need to help the teachers develop better competencies of their own and in today's mediated culture, and of course the best practice is to teach them based on the curricula. For teachers, we have created a large number of guides, offered trainings, and we also have a pilot schools in this program for more than 40 municipalities here in Finland. And all in all, this program has been well received, and we believe that the importance of these new literacies is understood among the administration and among the teachers. There is also a presentation video about this project in English available if you are interested. And my clock is ticking over 12 minutes now. This was all from me. I hope this gave you some idea of the work we are doing and the situation we have in media literacy in the formal education sector.
Thank you very much, Julia, for a very succinct overview, which is, I mean, we all look so much to what happens in Finland in terms of, you know, that you have great practice and that you have very good experiences, particularly in the area of digital media literacy. So it's lovely to sort of see how the system is in operation. Maybe we can stop sharing the slide and see if anybody has any questions for Julia that they'd like to put to her at this stage. So you can maybe drop a note into the chat, or if you want to switch on your camera and put up your hand, we can also see you there as well. Anybody would like to put anything to Julia at this stage? She will be with us for the rest of the session. Anyway, Julia, maybe just one thing that strikes me is, I mean, what motivates your teachers now at this stage? I mean, you have a very well rolled out and well-oiled system in Finland. What's in it for the teacher? Do they get special recognition, extra pay? I mean, what motivates teachers to take up this work with you?
I think it's that the understanding that we live in a mediated culture, and I think there's a need to understand what happens in the lives of the children and the young people. So they have to be in touch with that. And like media is so engaging, and so of course there's lots of worries and troubles, and they are something that you have in schools as well as home. So it's just simple that you have to have answers. You have to know about the lives of children, where they are living in the culture. So I guess it's just this, but there's no, it's just, we're trying to do a lot that teacher training programs understand that how important this is, but we are competing with many other very important things. No, there's no actual like extra pay or
extra motivating factor. I mean, I suspect the fact that you make available lots of resources for teachers to use in the class helps, because that means then they're not going in empty-handed to do the job.
Yeah, and it's very important to give the idea that in the curricula, where does it, how can you relate to that and the things you are teaching and so on, so that teachers will know that this is something, this is important, and that this is actually something I need to teach. This is not extra, but this is integrated.
Part of the daily life. Yeah. Look, thank you so much, and you'll be with us for the rest of the session, as I said. I'd like to move on to our second speaker, so to the other end of Europe. So we're moving to Spain, to Catalan and specifically, and to meet Monica Duran Ruiz, who is responsible for international relations with the Catalan Audiovisual Council in Catalonia. And so Monica is going to talk to us a little bit more about how they have been tackling these issues, these questions of raising media literacy and measuring, because that's something that the broadcast authorities are now somewhat more responsible for. So Monica, if I could turn over to you next. Thank you very much. You can share your screen.
Okay, many thanks, Sally, for the invitation to speak today at the workshop. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today. Hello from rainy Barcelona. I will share the presentation in the presentation mode. Hold on a second. Okay, just let me know if you can see it.
Yep.
Everything is okay?
Nice and clear, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sally. The CAC is a media regulatory authority. So this means that our main functions and competences are, among others, the monitoring of audiovisual contents, always after they have been broadcasted, of course, to see if these contents fulfill with the regulations in force, for instance, concerning the protection of minors, the political and social pluralism, the public service missions, and so on. Okay. Also, the awarding of licenses to become an audiovisual media service provider. It is an important function of the regulators. So how come does a media regulator get involved in media literacy issues since, as you will see in the coming slides, 1998, okay? So it's a little bit weird by that time that a media regulator would get involved in this field of activity. From one side, the CAC, since its foundation, is working very closely with the academia and the relevant stakeholders of every ambit affecting the CAC scope of action. This we do to know firsthand what are the main challenges and concerns existing in the audiovisual field and to understand how this sector affects the different spheres of the citizenship. Already in 1998, the CAC understood that there was a deficit, a pedagogy deficit in the classrooms to give the students audiovisual competences. These are the skills to understand the audiovisual language. In the schools, children learn how to have linguistic competences as well as reading and comprehension competences, but not audiovisual ones. So this consideration of giving the students all the tools to be competent and empowered as citizens goes in line to what Professor Sonia Livingstone from the London School of Economics understands as, in general, no, as it has to be the education in communication. This has to be the need to have the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and create messages across a variety of contexts. Having this conception of the education in communication under consideration, during these years, we have built up some sort of triangular strategy focus. As you can see, it's not a triangle, I can do it, but I thought that it was more understandable for you to, if I was presenting it like this, focusing on the peak to the students And because the formal education, and in line to what Julia has mentioned in her presentation, is easier for public institutions, I mean, as a target to reach with our initiatives regarding media literacy. So it's very easy, or at least it's easier for us to implement policies and initiatives from primary to high school education. So students are the peak of our strategy. This strategy has a very strong baseline supported by the families, which they are the informal sphere where the minors complement the learning of the skills and competences, and also the schools. Especially, we focus our initiatives in the teachers by organizing workshops and seminars, for instance, teachers, summer schools, and also during the school year, the academic year, we organize specific workshops for teachers in topics like disinformation and artificial intelligence and so on. And also, and this is very important, we also organize sessions to the teachers to be. I mean, once here in Catalonia, you have the teaching degree, you have to study a master's that will give you the competence to become a full teacher. Okay, so we have an agreement with the majority of the universities in Catalonia that offer this sort of masters to organize sessions to make the teachers to be understand the importance of bringing up the audiovisual skills into the classrooms. Okay, so this is very important, and we are very satisfied of these sessions. So this would be the strategy. It's very simple, but I think that during these nearly 25 years, it has been working so well. And now we are going to work a little bit out of this comfort zone, and we will start working with senior media literacy with seniors. We are going to start with specific communities, techie communities like Instagrammers, influencers, and gamers. And also we are starting to work with this thing called cultural literacy with museums and schools as well. So we are going to keep this strategy, but we are fully open to start new lines of working in the field of the media literacy. And what is the goal as well is very simple to us. Okay, the goal is to empower citizenship to be critical towards the content that they are consuming, as well as to make them aware of their responsibility when they are sharing contents. So as you can see, the strategy is simple but complex at the same time, but the goal as well, it's simple, you know, this kind of simplicity that hides a lot of complexity, is to have empowered citizenship with, you know, enough skills and tools to be critical and responsible at the same time. For this presentation, and this is a thing that I was commenting to Sally, that it would be a good idea, I have revised the different versions of the Audiovisual Media Service Directive, which is the EU-level regulation applying to the 27 EU state members, okay, in the field of the audiovisual media services, to see the level of the recognition that has got the media literacy throughout the time. As you can see, in the version of 1989 and 1997, no mention of the concept media literacy at all. Okay, so it was something that maybe it was more in the academic sphere, but the EU policymakers and legislators, I mean, they were still not recognizing it as an effective tool. This changes completely, as you can see, in 2007, when for the first time, and this is very important that it is put in black and white, a legal document, binding legal document, is introducing the concept media literacy into black and white. As you can see, recitals 8 and 37, the recitals are the explanation why this rule is adopted, and Article 26. Okay, in Article 26 it has a very back wording saying that member states should do every 3 years a report on several items, and one of these items is media literacy. Also in 2010, there's a continuity of this wording and this conception of media literacy. So the EU policymakers and legislators are recognizing the importance, but the big push, as you can see, comes in 2018. In the current version of the directive, there are, for the first time, specific obligations concerning the media literacy, for instance, to the video sharing platform providers, okay? And this is very important. It is very relevant to outline that according to Article 33, member states shall promote and take measures for the development of media literacy skills, okay? And also this is a very important date to note. By 19th of December 2022, and every 3 years thereafter, member states shall report to the Commission on the implementation of these measures, okay? So they shall to report what has been doing in their respective states regarding media literacy. So if you can see the evolution, okay, of media literacy from not mentioning this concept at all to have it as one of the complements of regulation, co-regulation, and self-regulation to empower the citizenship. And this is very important, okay, for a European Union policymaker and legislator, okay. So here, in the next slide, you can see the KAVI main initiatives of media literacy that we have been conducting during these nearly 25 years, okay? So as you can see, we started in 1998. We were editing a blueprint book on how to watch TV, jointly with the academia. This book was revised on and updated on 2005. And in the previous year, we were issuing as well, jointly with the academia, a white book on audiovisual education, okay? From 2003 up to now, a very interesting initiative that I can show you. This is just a glimpse of what you can find if you click in the link that is attached and that Chloe also has. We were starting working and we were starting thinking that, as Julia has already mentioned, no, to start working with teachers. And we were very surprised because starting in 2003, and here you can see in this slide the number of projects that during from 2007 until 2022, this next edition of the EduCAC School Awards, we have been receiving. I mean, we were surprised of the commitment and the engagement of the teachers, you know. At the moment, the media literacy is not as a compulsory subject in the curricula in the schools in Catalonia. It's an optional subject. So this means that teachers have the option, if they have time in their classroom hours, to implement media literacy classroom time. So we were very surprised to see how many committed and engaged teachers towards the media literacy were and are actually currently are. Okay, so this is great. I would like to invite you all to our next awarding ceremony of the EduCAC School Awards that will take place at the end of May, beginning June. We are going to stream it, and I will pass the streaming link to Sally and to Chloe, and they can share it just in case it would be of your interest. But it's very rewarding to see classroom projects from primary school, from 5 years old children to last year high school students regarding media literacy, and also special education, and as well teachers. The teachers also can send us their classroom projects, okay? So it's very rewarding. It's very, we are very satisfied with this. So moving up, and thanks to this, I think, confidence in our capacities regarding media literacy, we were promoting these EduCAC teaching materials, which are 13 units. And here I can show you. There are 13 units that the teachers can work in the classrooms. And this is the scheme of in the right-hand side, you can see the scheme of every unit, no? So they are, the teachers have the possibility to use these tools, to use this unit to work in class all the topics that we have considered through a group of psychopedagogists, teachers, professionals of the educative sector that could be of interest to develop in the classrooms. At the moment, we have 2,000 people registered for these materials. So as well, we are very happy and very surprised because when you are implementing an initiative, you are a little bit fearing of the response or the impact, no? So it's very gratifying for us.
Monica, I hate to be a pain, but
yes,
we're just running a bit short on time. Thank you.
Okay. And in 2019, give me 2 minutes more and I will finish. In 2019, we move up a little bit a step further. So during these years of knowing people, of knowing professionals of the educative sector, of knowing teachers, of knowing associations working in the field of the media literacy, we were creating a network that actually is composed by 70 agents, stakeholders, and it's the platform for education and communication. And last but not least,
I think you've switched off your mic, Monica. Monica, we don't hear you anymore. And I see mute on the screen, so I think you've inversely.
Okay,
you're back.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah. So this is our last project that was co-founded by the European Commission, and we have coordinated alongside with 7 international partners a free online self-evaluation tool. That this is very important because we think that there are a huge amount of media literacy projects that are focused in the project. I mean, but this project that it was co-founded by the European Commission was focused on the evaluation side. I mean, this self-evaluation free online tool helps the teachers to know the status of their students. It focuses, as you can see, to high school students from 14 to 18 years old. It's called Edu Media Test. I attached the link here, and you can freely play with the tool. And I think as well, we were testing the tool with more than 9,000 students. After the filtering process of the methodologic experts, it was nearly 9,000. So yeah, we are very satisfied, and the European Commission is also very satisfied about the response of the project. And yes, as I'm speaking at the speed of light, I think I will close my presentation here before Sally comes back to me. And I'm fully open for any question, clarification, or doubt that you may have regarding my presentation. Thank you very much. I'm going to breathe.
Thank you, Monica. Draw breath.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you so much for such a lot of information. Of course, you know, following on from Julia as well, it's great to get all of this, and for the invitation to the awards as well too. Of course, you know, you'll be staying with us, Monica, until the end. I hope we will get back to a couple of questions to you. I see we have 2 questions also still hanging for Julia, so maybe we'll take those at the end as well too. But I therefore would like to move on, if I may, to our 3rd speaker this afternoon, talking about frameworks, and that is Anastasia Economou, who's the project leader of human capital and employment with the Joint Research Centre, JRC Sevilla in Spain. And she's going to talk to us about Selfie for Teachers. So Anastasia, over to you.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you for the opportunity to share work at the Joint Research Centre on digital competence, and more specifically for educators' digital competence. So just to make sure that you can see my screen.
It looks
so I can
fine,
continue.
thank you.
Perfect. So digital transition in education has been a very high priority in the European agenda. Education systems, we know that they are still exploring various ways to respond to the opportunities that digital technologies can offer, as well as challenges that they entail. Teachers' role is a key factor of how digital technologies are used in teaching and learning, and how they can also facilitate the development of their learners' digital competence. And we can see that in the recent European Digital Education Action Plan, educators' digital competence reflects this important role, and saying that digital competence should be a core skill for all educators and training staff, and should be embedded in all areas of teacher professional development. Digital competence is a complex construct to define. Across the world, we see a number of efforts to capture what digital competence for educators is and facilitate its development and monitoring. In 2017, at the Joint Research Centre, we published a European framework for the digital competence of educators, the DigComPEdu. This framework aimed to reach a consensus on the main areas and elements of educators' digital competence and on the progression of digital competence in each of these areas. It aimed to propose a coherent model that would allow a comprehensive, a common reference of what educators' digital competence is. In the digital competence frameworks that we developed at JRC, starting with the DigComp for Citizens in 2012, competence is approached as a set of knowledge, skills, and attitudes that help individuals engage into confident, critical, and responsible use of digital technologies for learning at work and for participation in society. So you see that this critical approach is very important in all our work for the digital competence in general. Following this idea, of course, the DigComEdu framework that is specifically for educators organizes educators' competences in 6 areas: professional engagement under the pillar of educators' context, actually, teaching and learning, digital resources, assessment, and empowering learners under educators' pedagogical competences, and facilitating learners' digital competence under learner competences. Each area of competence is analyzed into a number of key competences. For example, you see in area 3, teaching and learning, is analyzed in 4 key competences. The framework also follows a progression model with 6 proficiency levels in order to facilitate educators to understand their own digital competence. It starts from level A1, which reflects awareness, A2, which reflects exploration, moves on to B1 for integration and B2 for expertise, and reaches C1 for leadership and C2 for innovation. Now, based on this conceptual framework, we developed a self-reflection tool. Monica referred to a self-evaluation tool for students, which is nice. So this is a particular self-reflection tool for educators. And it aims this version of the tool to school education teachers. So what we did is to transform the DigComEdu digital competences from the theoretical aspect into a number of self-reflection items, giving at the same time practical examples relevant to teachers' everyday work in order to facilitate them reflect upon their digital competence and help them further develop their use of digital technologies based on their results and feedback that they receive by the tool. Taking into consideration that continuous digital technologies developments and presence in everyday life require to anticipate new educational needs, as, for example, understanding the impact of algorithms in an online search, or facilitating students' computational thinking, or acknowledging ethical considerations in data management and artificial intelligence. Taking this into consideration, in the SELFIE for Teachers, we have 32 items, including items to reflect these new pedagogical needs and trends. And let me just take the opportunity to refer to the update of the DigComp framework, which is the framework for the digital competence for citizens. We published a new updated version 2.2 a couple of weeks ago, where such aspects were also considered. So in DigComp 2.2 version, we have examples of knowledge, skills, and attitudes applicable to each of the 21 competences of the citizens' competence to illustrate updated examples that refer to artificial intelligence, remote working, and digital accessibility. And this is important as the DigComEdu framework and the SELFIE for Teachers, we have in the 6th area, the learner's digital competence. And I think it's important that we have this, this alignment there as well. So how does SELFIE for Teachers work? It's actually quite easy to use. Each self-reflection item in the Selfie for Teachers presents the 6 proficiency level statements. Teachers choose the one that best describes their current situation, and they can also, I'm sorry, I missed one slide, I guess. Yes, here it is. So for each one of the items, the teachers will choose the proficiency level that best describes their current situation. And to facilitate this process, we present the proficiency levels using action verbs. So moving from a more basic individual aspect, as for example, I am aware, I have tried, to more critical and collective aspect, I analyze, I reflect, I support others, I involve students. So having this now in mind, how does Selfie for Teachers work? It's easy to use. You create an EU login account, start your self-reflection, respond to the 32 items, and receive your results and feedback report. And you can do this in one go or in as many sessions as you need. It's important though to mention a little bit of the key features that we had in mind when we designed Selfie for Teachers, which we believe makes it a tool that can respond better to teachers as professionals. So we know many teachers have been engaged into various professional development programs, but many of them still lack competence and confidence in using digital technologies. And sometimes professional development programs might not respond to their learning needs and might not be as relevant to them. So Selfie for Teachers follows the self-reflection process in order to facilitate teachers' professional learning as a continuous professional learning process. It helps teachers to understand what it means to be digitally competent and assess where they stand and plan where they can reach, and of course, based on their own needs. And this is done through the 32 items and the results and feedback report that they receive from the tool. But let's see a little bit more about this to understand it a bit better. So teachers can initiate the self-reflection at any time and complete it in as many sessions as they need. And based on their results, they can identify their gaps and strengths and design their own learning paths. Teachers are by profession learning designers, so they are the best ones to design their own learning as well. And they can also create a group and share anonymized aggregated data to support planning of professional development programs for their group. The tool also provides this personalized feedback report for the teachers, which is only for the teacher alone and is not shared with anybody else. And has a visual representations of their results, and that is per area, per item, and also the total picture of where the teacher stands. But something that our teachers find very important and very useful is this detailed feedback per item with suggestions how to move to the next level. And teachers can take a self-reflection as many times through their dashboard. They can compare their results over time to monitor their progress and position themselves with averages of the global teachers of the tool, but also with their group, if they are taking this within a group. So teachers can take their self-reflection in the beginning of the school year, for example, based on their results and feedback report, design their learning paths, which they can do as individually or in collaboration with colleagues. They can plan together activities, implementations in their classrooms, and finally they can take again their self-reflection and see how they progress. The challenge, of course, here is to provide teachers in these learning journeys with the support, institutional and systemic support, including resources, time and work structure, coaching, mentoring. And also education systems can use Selfie for Teachers and using the aggregated data to plan and support teachers' professional development programs and resources. We hope that we can build an ecosystem around the tool to facilitate this process with the building of a community and sharing of practices and experiences. Closing, just to say that you can find already supported material, how to use the tool in all 24 official EU official languages, which is, or the tool also is in all the, you can find the tool also in all these languages, videos as well. And I'm happy to hear if you have any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anastasia. We have a moment for a couple of questions. If anybody would like to put anything to Anastasia. I have to admit, Anastasia, my main question to you, Selfie for Teachers is a terrific tool. I think anyone who's used it will be really impressed by it. And I just wonder, do you think we need a separate Selfie for Teachers to cover media literacy? Or do you think that Selfie for Teachers itself is enough to cover the competences, knowledge and skills that you need to be media literate?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question. And as I said, because in the digital competence, we do take into consideration the skills, not only the skills, but also the attitudes. So one main aspect of the tool is to create this critical approach to what digital technologies are and the messages that they can give to all of us. And I think that you will see in when you go through the tool, in all the self-reflection items, you will see that this is going on transversally in the tool. So for example, when we're talking about emerging technologies, we do talk about ethical considerations and the critical approach of using this artificial intelligence, let's say, programs or even tools. And more importantly, in terms of information literacy, it's also very important. But at the same time, how the teachers facilitate this critical attitude and critical approach to their learners, their students.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. I know, Shahira, I see that you've got your hand up. Come to you in a second. Just before we do that, there's just a practical question from Pau Ordonio, who's in the Philippines. He wants to know, can Selfie for Teachers be accessed, or can you create an account for other educators outside Europe?
Yes, it's open and free, and anyone can create an account from anywhere in the world. Yes.
That's good news. Thank you very much. I'm probably mispronouncing your name. Shashira?
Shahira is perfect. Thank you very much, Sally. I have a quick question for Anastasia. Hi, I'm Shahira Enria from the University of Göttingen, and I work within an international project where one of my duties is to make sure that the teachers get to a little bit more comfortable when it comes to digital literacies and competences. I find it fascinating that there is so much progress going on here and that there are so many tools. The one thing that I observe in my daily work is the integration into, you know, the whatever the teachers are doing. And how do you think? I mean, you talked about that the teachers are the best learning designers, and they are, but very often what I see is that they don't have the time, or it will take them a little bit more of kind of get acquainted to all of this. How do you think we should, as support people, you know, present this as a useful tool for them? Do you have an experience with that? I mean, I know it's a big topic, but just to integrate this in the daily routine, that is a big question mark for me. Thank you.
Thanks,
I think that's
quick answer, Anastasia. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, a very critical point, because we need to understand the context, the professional context where the teachers are. And if we don't provide them with these, the conditions that they can do what we're aiming to do, is not possible. So we're trying to use, together with the Selfie for Teachers, other approaches that we have and other tools. For example, we have also Selfie for Schools, where we're talking to the leadership of the school how to be able to integrate, as you nicely said, these approaches within the school context, to provide the time, to provide the structure of working with colleagues, sharing, and all those things. So you're very right. So we have to really pay attention to this professional context to support the teachers into this. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you both. Very good point being made by Iglika, and I think we'll come back to that discussion if we may as well too. And it's on this point whether Selfie for Teachers is broad enough. The point she's making is the fact that it's not measuring media literacy as understood or described in the AVM SD Directorate, as Monica was talking about earlier. So I think we may come back to that if you don't mind, because that's much more of a bigger discussion. And I really don't want to take any more time away from Professor Jeff Scher, lecturer and educator, the School of Education Information, University of California in Los Angeles. We're really delighted and very honored that Jeff will join us today, apart from the fact that it's such an early hour of the day. Thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us. Over to you, if I could. Thank you. Jeff, you can share your presentation and we'll go ahead. Thank you, I see it fine.
Great, wonderful. So I work at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, and we train new teachers and university students in critical media literacy. And the first thing we try to do is frame media literacy as not something new that hasn't happened, but as a rethinking of what is literacy. So when we're talking about reading and writing, getting them to amplify and expand their ideas, to recognize that when we're talking about today in the 21st century, reading and writing includes all sorts of different ways we communicate: images, sounds, advertising, social media, popular culture, as well as print literacy. But so much of what still happens in schools in the United States is almost an obsession with print literacy, where that's been what we've been doing for centuries, and that's what we continue to focus on, missing out on what's really happening outside of the classroom. So the first part is just simply expanding that so that all of our teachers are recognizing that in every class they're teaching, literacy looks like a lot of different things and is digital, it's multimodal, and includes so many aspects. The other part of our work in critical media literacy is to deepen the ability to critically analyze the relationships between knowledge and power in society. And that's a very key feature for teachers to understand, that information is never neutral. And so recognizing and guiding students to look for what are these connections to power, who's benefiting, who's being hurt, is one of the kind of core ideas with this work. I really like the way Anastasia talked about the importance of looking at those digital competencies of knowledge, awareness, skills, and attitudes. That's also a very important focus of our work. So the first part about just helping teachers explore the awareness and knowledge, we try to guide them to recognize what are the systems and structures. So we're not just looking at individual representations, which is a starting point, but we're also using them to look at bigger systems and structures of identity, of race, gender, sexuality, environmental issues, as well as how these new tools of communication work, looking at an awareness of algorithms, of social media, of different ways that we're communicating in different literacies. The second part about skills and abilities is this is where the students practice and they create. So we teach the critical analysis through media production. It's very important in all our classes that students are creating some type of media, whether it's just writing, whether it's photographing, creating TikTok videos, whatever it is. Through that process of production, they're really learning much more about analysis and critical awareness when they're guided through a critical framework. And the last part about disposition and attitudes is really building that sense of curiosity, skepticism, critical engagement, with the goal of empowering students to be able to take action, to want to change and make the world a better place. So this is always framed within a transformative pedagogical structure, where they're looking at these are skills that we need as a tool to not only be more aware and critical ourselves, but also to be able to contribute and support progressive social justice. The tool we use is this framework. And this framework comes from a lot of different places. We've been pulling ideas, originally from the Frankfurt School, from the Birmingham School, from people working in different parts of the world, trying to come up with just some key theoretical lenses and ideas, which are conceptual understandings. And when we work with teachers, we teach these conceptual understandings on the left as a way for them to understand what are the goals that they should be doing with their students. And then the questions on the right are the tools that they use with the students. They don't use those conceptual understandings with the students as much as for the teachers to understand where they want to guide the students to arrive. And that process, the method, is through using questions. It's an inquiry process. So the questions, we also encourage students and our students who are teachers and university students to modify the questions as well, depending on their students. If they're in a classroom with very young students, they're going to need to change and tweak the questions to make them more accessible to younger students. But the goal is that these questions are what's going to guide them to that critical thinking and to understanding. So like concept one, all information is co-constructed by people who make choices within context. However, you can help students understand that there are decisions being made, that things aren't just there naturally, or it's not just normal that this has happened, but these are actually constructions. People are making decisions all along the way. And we've seen teachers do this from kindergarten through the university level, building ways, and oftentimes, like I mentioned earlier, through production, having students taking pictures, creating podcasts, making maps, doing different ways where they're producing media themselves through this framework that's guiding that process to be critical. So looking at number two, different languages, this is looking at all the different literacies that I think critical media literacy encompasses: digital literacy, visual literacy, multimedia literacy, all of those. If we can bring it together with a critical lens that's going to be questioning how power, ideology, and media representations construct our ideas and position the audience to think and feel different ways about messages. So I know there's not too much time, so I'm not going to walk through all of these, but I want to just share this as a framework that we use, which is really central for all our teaching when we're working with teachers and students. And here's just one other thing I want to share. And this is a resource guide that we have online that we keep updating and putting in as many resources we can find of articles, videos, podcasts, lessons to help people look at different areas, from advertising to climate change to sexism, journalism, visual literacy, racism, looking at the world through the lens of a critical framework. And that's really our goal. It's like Paulo Freire's idea of reading the word and reading the world. And so I'm going to just stop right there.
Gosh, you caught me completely. Wasn't expecting that, Jeff. Thank you so much. We were so keen to have you join us because of the framework and the work that you've been doing, and of course it's extremely well researched and very well based. And I can see some clapping as well too. So thank you very much for everybody. So please, if you have questions for Jeff, if you'd like to raise issues, any points you'd like to, you can always use the chat. You can also put up your hand here and we'll give you the microphone. Jeff, I'd like to just ask you maybe to start the discussion, and then we'll bring in our other panelists as well too. Something that you said to me, you work with teachers at various different stages of their careers. And I asked you, we were talking about young teachers in their pre-service as opposed to teachers who are in service. And you thought there was quite a difference in terms of how they adapt and how they take on these kinds of skills and knowledge in the areas of media literacy. Could you talk about that just for a moment?
Sure. So what our research has found is that it's very important to expose new teachers to these ideas so that they really come in understanding literacy as multifaceted, and they come in with a critical perspective. But in terms of what we've seen played out in the classroom, we see greater success working with in-service teachers who've already had a few years of experience in the classroom, bringing these ideas and really modifying and incorporating these into their curriculum in all areas. So we work with teachers from math, science, physical education, all the different subject areas. We try to bring this in as a lens to whatever you're teaching. How do you, rather than add something new, how do you modify what you're doing just to make it deeper, more critical? And the teachers who've had more experience are the ones who tend to take it up much better than the new teachers, because quite frankly, new teachers are overwhelmed with that first year of teaching, and they're very focused on classroom management and basic survival skills. And so even though we see wonderful output from new teachers, it tends to be far better and more thorough with teachers who have a little bit more experience.
Thank you. Good point. And I also would like to maybe go back to Julia, because there was a question that was put a little bit earlier that we didn't get time to come to. But just while we're doing that, we thought it might be nice to run a little poll with all of you. Just describe what media literacy means for you in one word. And I think we need to get the QR code up there. Or the link is in the chat, as you can see. So just while we're continuing this discussion, maybe you might just put in a single word for what media literacy means to you, and then we'll have a little look at what the results are. So we'll start to see where it's appearing. Maybe we can stop sharing that screen. Thanks, Chloe. So while you're doing that, I also wanted to put a question. This question came into you, Julia, but it actually is very relevant to what Jeff's just been saying. And it came from Pao in the Philippines, and he wanted to know in Finland whether the sort of training that you provide is once off or is it continuous? And again, it's back to this point about at what stage in a teacher's career can you introduce really effective media literacy training, education, and should it be continuous? Julia?
Well, naturally in the basic training, yeah, it's the studies show that it varies in different universities, and it's usually in the ICT section of the studies in the teacher's curriculum, or the training curriculum, but the in-service training, it's of course there are, like I said, there are lots of stakeholders that provide training for teachers in every stage, if they are new, older, more have more practice, yeah. But it's like it's continuous, yes, but it varies in where you live. Some municipalities allow funds for the in-service training, and some doesn't so much, and some principals or administrators find media literacy and digital literacy important, and teachers have time and resources to take part in training. So of course it varies a lot.
Yeah. I hope that kind of answers your question as well too. I'd like to ask all of our panelists now, just to sort of have your mics on, be ready to go. Has anybody got any questions they'd like to put to our group of panelists this afternoon? As you know, we were really keen to explore in this session this idea of frameworks and structures and ways to measure and ways to look at how media literacy is being effectively put in place by teachers. So what we did was we have this kind of little overview of several different schemes. So if you have any questions about that, or indeed anything that our panelists have been talking about this afternoon, please feel free to join in. But maybe I could start just by asking you, I mean, we see, particularly here in Europe, I'm sure it's the same as well with you in other parts of the world, that the whole drive against disinformation, or fake news as it's called in many places, is suddenly putting media literacy in a much more spotlit position than it has been in the past. So we see a lot of attention to media literacy, and of course teachers are one of the first lines of defense there, insofar as that schools are expected to do something there. Can I ask you, particularly Anastasia, Monica, Jeff and Julia, do you think, are we doing enough yet? Have we got enough impetus going? What should we be doing? And where is this going, do you think? Is it a good thing that there's so much interest these days? Julia, I see your mic's on. Do you want to tackle this?
No, we are not doing enough, perhaps, about I think it's a question about resources and how systematic the approach is. And it's said in Finland that there's lots of like speeches, and it said how important it is, but where's the money? It's like this kind of question that the government says that this is very important topic, but are they funding us enough? And then the question is also, we are talking about, yeah, it's important, teachers are important, the work we are doing in other sectors is important, but we cannot, we have to remember that that's just one part. There's a lots of like responsibility with the in the corporate world and the social media giants and everything, and regulation. So this is not just a question about teachers and this.
It's much broader.
Yeah, that must be remembered every time. when discussing about these matters.
Yeah. Jeff?
Sure. I'd like to jump in, and I really like the comment that Iglika
Indeed, yeah.
Thank you, because I think this is what we're seeing a lot, especially in the United States right now, is the obsession with fake news and the prominence that's put for news literacy at the expense of all the other literacies. And I think what critical media literacy really tries to do is encompass all these different literacies. And if we're just focusing on what's real and what's not, we're losing out for the majority of information that we should be questioning, because the majority of information is not manipulated and is not obviously fake, but it's all biased and it's all subjective. So the more we can be helping students be questioning, all information, asking about what is the bias, who is it benefiting, who is it being hurted, how is it constructed, how is it positioning audiences to think and feel in certain ways, the more prepared they're going to be as truly literate citizens. So the push we see right now for kind of just focusing on fake news has tended to be a little problematic, even though it has increased people's interest and questions about what is media literacy.
It's making more funding available, which I suppose for lots of people, including many of the NGOs with whom we all work, it helps. But I see your point. Iglika, we're happy to have you come and join in as well too. But Monica, maybe I see your mic's on. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to share that one of the conclusions of the EduMedia test projects after this survey that we took over more than 9,000 students was one conclusion that shocked us. It was that of the 6 dimensions that this self-auto survey, is composed. The students from 8 different countries were having the highest marks on technology. This means that they know how to use a mobile phone, they know how to use a laptop, they know how to use a computer, they know how to use a tablet, and also they know how to use the best shot for an Instagram post, or for TikTok video, or for, I don't know, to have the best streaming when they want to share a content via YouTube, Dailymotion, or Vimeo. What they are not aware, according to the results of the EduMedia test, is about the repercussions of this content that they are sharing. So they are not fully aware when they are playing citizen journalist about the data protection, about the protection of minors. I mean, what is behind this content that they share? Hence the importance of the media literacy. So yes, to your question, we have to improve in media literacy in all the fields, no? As Jeff and Julia were mentioning. Disinformation, fake news, comprehension of the sharing of content, responsibility, data protection, and protection of minors, and so many things. No? And this was a conclusion that shocked us, but encouraged us to continue working on the media literacy field.
Thanks, Monica. Iglika, welcome. Iglika from Bulgaria.
Hi, thank you for the awesome presentations, and they're complementary to each other, and that is exactly the way that I'm seeing digital information and media literacy as complementary. And if I'm asking maybe to some extent a little provocative questions, is not because I'm not appreciating very high the efforts and the use and the benefits of all the tools, all the assessment tools, all the programs. Just the opposite. They're all super important. I just have problems with calling things media literacy when they are not, or they are not providing the full picture, the whole framework. And to me, that is very important, because especially in systems that are very young in the field of media literacy, and I'm trying to address all the challenges that we now meet, of course, mainly with disinformation, with personal data, with digital breadcrumbs, with digital identity, reputation, and so on. It is very important for, especially when a project is developed in European level and is promoted as best practice and useful for all the member states, to tell the limitations to every tool, to every measurement system. And that was the reason to put these comments. But thank you on an awesome webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. Now, you're dead right, of course. I think it behoves us to put definitions. The difficulties we've had in this field, I think many people would agree, is that has led sometimes to having different, silos, as they're sometimes called. You have the media literacy people over there and the media education people over there, and sometimes that causes difficulties. But you are right, of course, making sure that it's clear the limitations to different frameworks is very important. Anastasia, did you want to come in on that as well? Yeah.
Yes. If I just make a comment as well, is that it's very true that we're trying to, focus on certain areas, on certain aspects, in order to be able to address them into more depth. And I think that maybe these separations, as you said, maybe sometimes are useful, but maybe some other times are not, because we're creating these silos, as Sally mentioned as well. So in our case, the digital competence is not media literacy per se. So digital competence encompasses different aspects. It has digital literacy, it has some aspects of media literacy, but it's not particularly for that. So it's important to address this concern. And I think that what Jeff mentioned just a while ago is that this approach from different perspectives does give us the opportunity to address misinformation and other issues that we have. So this critical approach, this for responsibility and also creative ways of using technologies are very important in all aspects. That helps us also address media literacy issues. And in the Selfie for Teachers in DigComEdu, for example, in the digital resources, you have aspects of media literacy, how you use the resources critically, effectively, and not only as consumers, but also as creators. So I think that we have to keep this in mind in all the aspects of our tools and frameworks that we're using. Thank you.
Thanks, Anastasia. We're just about out of time. Thank you so much. Chloe, we're going to put up the results of what the word cloud looked like. Okay, critical thinking right in the middle. Good news, Jeff. And as you can see, critical appearing several times, seeing democracy, knowledge, censorship. Thank you so much for filling that in for us. Before you go, we'd also like to ask you very quickly, we're looking at the possibilities of running a conference in autumn on this topic of teacher education and digital media literacy. So we would just like to do a quick poll to see if you would be interested in such an event that, as I say, we're hoping to organize in October. So stay tuned to our publicity. If you're not already receiving our newsletter, please sign up and then you can stay in contact with what we're up to. We will make a recording of this session available at the end, available to everybody who's registered with, of course, the presentations. But for now, we're more or less out of time. I really would like to thank our 4 speakers this afternoon. Well, there's the results. Okay, good. So lots of people interested in the conference in autumn. So stay in contact with us for that. My job now is just to say thank you so much. Thank you to Julia. Thank you very much for your input, Julia, to Monica, to Anastasia, and to Jeff. It was a really interesting session. And thank you so much for keeping to time. And thanks for the interesting questions and for hearing from everybody. And stay in contact. We're going to put up a slide and say where you can find out more about what we're up to by signing up to the newsletter. Thank you all so much. Thanks to Chloe for helping out this afternoon. And yeah, just to remind you, we've got 2 more seminars coming up before the summer. One about teaching in hybrid settings, another one on the 18th of May on helping students and teaching staff access high quality open education media resources. And our conference, of course, taking place in June, aimed at higher education and use of media. That's all from us. Thank you all very much for joining us and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye bye now.